Hello folks, I've got quite a lot to cover in this video and I think it's an important one. I'd like to offer a very simple, demystified understanding of the pagan gods Odin, Tyr and Thor. If you like this video, please go back to the first one and watch the whole series. I've covered quite a lot of ground already. The thesis of this video is that the Norse gods are representations of the four elements, which are the true theory of everything. So this is my current understanding of how they fit into the four. We'll get there. It's a pretty good fit. I think it's quite compelling evidence. I do consider myself a pagan, but I'm not an expert on Norse mythology, and I'm open to being corrected or advised, Anyway, so the universal plan, which is the point of Veritopia, is the true theory of everything, and it underlies and unifies all science and spirituality. And the Norse gods are the four elements, and their names are simply their number. The return of the old gods. If the universal plan is correct, then what does this mean for pagans? Does it diminish the pagan gods? Does it make them redundant? Do pagans have any reason to fear what I'm doing? Well, if I'm right, it means that the pagan gods are real, and you can prove they exist. So it means paganism is vindicated. Although I have to say I do think paganism needs to remember its true foundations, and not just the stories, to actually be the force for good in the world that it once was, and it should be again. And I guess this is my hope for Veritopia, to reinvigorate paganism by reuniting it with what I believe is its true foundation, or at least to get people talking about it more. The world needs strong moral leadership, and only paganism, amongst all the religions of the world, has the virtue to do that. Okay, so if we look at the four elements, this is the plan of creation. It's the why, how, when and what. So fire is why, it's the purpose, why you're doing something. It's the will, intent and desire. Air is how you're going to do it. It's the plan, the path, the law. Water is when, it's the action, it's the power. And earth is the creation, it's the ultimate result. And each of these do have numbers associated with them. Fire is one, God is one, will is singular. Law is dual, because it's right and wrong. This is the right path, that's the wrong path. It's the Tao. And so one is Odin, two is Tu, as I'm going to use that pronunciation because I don't know how to really say that one. Water, so that's 3 and 4. We'll get into that, and that corresponds to Thor. And then earth is the creation, and that corresponds to Freya, and it has the number 7 and more. So, to clarify, how does this prove that the gods exist? Well, the four elements exist, demonstrably. Free will exists, law exists, work exists, matter exists. Free will is Odin, law is Tu, work is Thor, matter is Freya. Fire, free will, is the foundation of all law. Humans are free agents which act on our own will, and this is the basis of the judicial system. People are free to choose the actions that they take. Air, law, is the result of desire. It's the path you must walk to achieve your desire. It's the way. And these first two of the four are intangible, so you can only point at their effects. You can't point directly at them. So you can't see the wind, which is the air element, but you can see the effects of the wind, i.e. the trees are moving. And so this is like the law. You can't see it, but you can see its effects. The second two you can point at and say, there is Thor, because it's work. And there is Freya, because she is matter. And so the four are the prime archetypes of these things. They're divine, eternal principles. They're concepts in God's mind, and they're mundane, everyday concepts. There's nothing mystical about it at all. It's completely mundane and ordinary. The word element means element, which is God mind. That's what it means. And the gods are all around us. They are everyday things. So Odin is one. This is the fire element. It's the archetype of will and desire. Odin's day is Wednesday, one's day. Odin is the All-Father, the father of all the other gods. He's the prime creator. He's Brahma, Vishnu. He's the grandfather. The name Odin is translated by pagan experts, apparently, as master of ecstasy, because of the way they break up the name and try and derive some etymology for it. I don't agree. I just think it's just wrong. I think they've just got it wrong. I think the origin of the name is basically from the Russian language or from Sanskrit, and it's basically ubiquitous. So it simply means one. That's what Odin means. So one in Russian is Odin, Odin, and it's spelt exactly the same. In Sanskrit, it's Ekam or Akam. So you have to imagine the K would have changed to a D and the M to an N. You know, it's feasible. The number 2 in Russian is Dva. In Sanskrit, it's Dve. In 3, it's Tri in Russian and Trini in Sanskrit. And 4 is Chaturya in Russian and Chatvari in Sanskrit. So they're very similar. So we'll need to bear these number names in mind because they will come up again. These are quite profound. Odin has one eye, symbolising his single focus. So he's deeply associated with the number 1. He's the one I, the I am. The stories about Odin in the mythology don't have to correspond exactly with the characteristics of the fire element or creator archetype on which it's based. You know, they're just stories. But the 4 elements is the foundation of the stories, and it conveys much more useful information than the stories alone do. Ideally, what you want is to be able to figure out what the stories really mean by reference to the 4 elements and the universal plan, because it contains the Tao also and the 7 days, and also the sine wave. So you have to consider all of the elements, and you can probably tease out where they fit into all of these stories if you know them well enough. Anyway, I was born in Odin. I lived the first 7 years of my life in a village called Odin in England. And obviously it's named after Odin, which is Wadden in English. So I was born in Odin, and I have a friend who lives in Odinburgh, which is Edinburgh. If you say Wadden quickly, the D kind of becomes silent, Wadden, one, and it sounds like one. And that's how the number 1 is pronounced in English. So you can see the etymology must be the number, because it's been converted that way in several languages, or at least 2. And there are probably many more examples of this in European languages. I don't really know that many of them, unfortunately. If you guys do, let me know. And here are some other words that are possibly related to Odin. We've got Aten or Aten, the Egyptian god. We've got Atom, which is indivisible. We've got Adam, the first man. Eden, the birthplace of man, which is paradise beside God. There's Aden in a city in Yemen, and there's Aden, which is a prefix we find in the UK a lot, such as in Addenbrooks in Cambridge, which means Odin's Brooks. There's also the boy's name, Aden. There's Ogham, which is the early medieval alphabet, which could be related. And we also have the word odd, which means an uneven number, which is what 1 is. So, maybe that's related too. So Tu is 2. And it's the air element. It's the archetype of law and design, and that's what Tu is billed as. He's billed as a male sky god who presides over law and justice. Tu is really the Tao. It's 2, and so Tuesday is really Tuesday. The Tao are the law. They are the relationship, which is a one-dimensional string between good and evil. They're the fabric, or the thread from which the fabric of reality is woven. They're the foundation of nature, and they are yang to us, masculine, so that makes it a male sky god, I guess. So Tu was also known as Deus, which is Zeus, which is days, and Dios and Dos in Spanish. It means 2, as days have 2 parts, the day and the night. And 2 in Russian was Dva, which is divide. Divine, diva, divination, and David. And you see that the Tao is the primary division. It is the division of good and evil, dark and light. So Thor is 4. This is the water element. It's the archetype of physical power and work. And Thor is Tor, the bull, and Tor is 4, the 4 elements. They're all identical. Thor's day is Thursday, which is Thor's day. Water is level 3, which is the tree, as in the Russian number, tree. And the 4 are the tree of life. They are the unbreakable, immortal forces of nature. The Russian chet which is the first syllable of their number 4, means multitude or group. I would suggest team, as in the Four, the Fantastic Four. Thor is Tor, it's Taurus, it's the bull. It means strength and power, symbolises that. And we find it in words such as talk, or torture, or torn, and at the end of words to denote the ability to do something, as an elevator or janitor. And I wonder if Thor's hammer is actually the bull's genitalia. It is associated with fertility, and yeah, I mean, the bull is known for its genitalia. Yeah, anyway, so all forces in the universe are created by the 4 elements. They are the force of nature, or the forces of nature. Thor is thunder. It's sound waves, which is the sine wave, and the sine wave is the 4 elements. Thunder is passive. It's yin to lightning, which is plasma, electricity, and probably corresponds to fire, Odin. And so this would mean that Thor would essentially be the strong arm of the law, the enforcer of the law of Odin. And on to Freya. Freya is earth. So she would be the earth element and the archetype of matter, which is Mater or mother. Freya's day is Friday. Freya is Odin's wife, and they are heaven and earth, or Uranus and Gaia. And there's many other names for that couple. And of course they're also a reflection of the Tao as well. Although fire is not strictly yang, it's double yang. He's a true representation of his father, and Freya is a true representation of her mother, I suppose. Anyway, so Freya is the goddess of love, fertility, beauty, and fine material possessions, which is earthly wealth. So you know, it's matter. And she also presides over the afterlife, which might make you wonder, you know, afterlife, that means death, right? And so is life on earth actually the afterlife? Are we already dead? Well, you know, it's something we might get back to one day. She's the only one who doesn't seem to have a number-related name, and she might. I don't really know that many languages, and I don't really know enough about Freya. If anyone can enlighten me on that, I'd be very grateful. So, Paradise Lost. Did we lose Paradise because we lost the truth of the stories? None of the characterizations are completely clear-cut in Norse mythology, but that's what you would expect as the stories have been passed down, embellished and updated as time's gone by. Odin isn't terribly godlike much of the time in some of the stories. He's not always good. Or at least apparently not always good. It could take a bit of teasing out what some of the stories mean. But I suspect that the true gods, the spiritual principles of the universal plan, are also often conflated and mixed up with the ancient human gods, i.e., you know, the Greek gods or the biblical Nephilim, who seem to have been essentially immoral giant humans who like to present themselves as the gods, and they took their names, and so the two got mixed up. Yeah, that's the way I kind of see it at the moment. Anyway, I hope you can see what I'm suggesting is at least possible. You know, there was once a worldwide unified religion and science based on the principles of God, the Tao, and the 4 elements. And it's the valid theory of everything that should be the foundation of all science and thought in general, but it was somehow lost. So this foundation that I've called the universal plan, that's just my name for it, we can call it something else if you come up with a better one, it's the real basis of all modern religions. It's like the lost common language of mankind. It's the key to understanding reality, and it is, for me at least, it's real paganism, because it's the real love of nature. In the mythological accounts of the gods, we can see how the years haven't really been kind to the truth. They've left us with just shreds and remnants of the original message. But fortunately, the truth is logical, so you can put it all back together again. You know, you can't hide reality. You can just divert people away from it. And so this is what I see when I look at the modern religions. It's simple facts of natural science that have been anthropomorphized into complicated stories about people, which confuse and do not enlighten. Okay, I think that'll do for now. I was going to go off in a bit of a tangent, but we'll do that another day. So thanks for watching. I hope you found it interesting. I'll catch you next time.